Good morning once again and welcome back. Let's start the newspapers. The Times begins this morning and says that government set up $100 million fund for business startups, job creation. Photograph of the president is attached to the story. Daily Guide, robbers kill cop at Abekala Pass in Accra. Photograph of 2 motorbikes and the fallen police officer there. Probe Mills's death, says family head, and government grabs $4 billion fresh Chinese deal. We're told that the Kotoko incident, 2 are now confirmed there. 2 died in Kotoko bus crash. The Daily Statesman, massive rot at State Housing Company, $600,000 mansion for 300,000 Ghana cedis. President launches big agenda for business. The Finder says jobs. Government unveils $10 million fund, the entrepreneurship and innovation project, to be scaled up to $100 million. The BNFT says shipping lines deny ripping shippers off, and fall army worm invasion won't go beyond 10% of farmlands. That's the Agric Ministry. The Palaver says a test case for new Chief Justice and co. Will Apollo 568 be revisited? NPP government sued. That's the story on the Palaver. Heritage says police warn soldiers. The Independent, Ghanaians are renowned for their sense of enterprise. President Akufo-Addo, and Africans getting fed up with gay rights noise. Professor Michael Quay, the Speaker of Parliament, talking. My guest to do the talking this morning, to my extreme left, is the founder of the Youth Enterprise Development Network, Kasisi Ricky Prepra. Kasisi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm doing fine.
Thanks for your Friday morning. Fred Agbenyo is a member of the NDC. He sits in the middle. Fred, good morning too.
Good morning.
I'm grateful for your time this morning. And then Eric Chum is the Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, a member of the NPP. Good morning to you.
Good
morning. Hope you're doing great.
I'm very well.
Thanks so much for coming, gentlemen. And let's start with this one. Not very good news for the Ghana Police Service and the country at large. We're told that robbers kill cop. A police officer, that's the Daily Guide story, was reportedly shot dead while another got severely injured at Abekala Pass in Accra in the attempt to stop a robbery operation in front of Las Palmas restaurant yesterday. We're told the 2 cops attached to the community policing unit at Tesano, according to information, were patrolling the area using a motorbike when they had information that armed men had attacked someone in front of the restaurant. According to a report, the 2 were among a team of cops who were chasing the armed men who attempted to escape on a motorbike. An eyewitness account indicated that the slain police officer was closer to the escaping robbers. In the full glare of traders and other travelers, the armed men were said to have abandoned their motorbike, snatched a Hyundai car, and sped off towards Awushi. That's around the Malam Junction. The police were told are still investigating. We were told this morning that the policeman is dead. One other is also receiving treatment. The police were told is investigating the story. Ricky, the armed robbers are at it again. The police still have difficulty dealing with them. In this situation, we're told that there were 2 policemen on a motorbike who were chasing these armed men. And the sad news is that the story is suggesting that these policemen did not even have arms on them when they were chasing these robbers.
Yeah, Brad, it's a very worrying development, and I'm very cautious not to go where my instincts tell me, which is that they should not have pursued when they did not have any means of defending themselves. It's a very problematic issue because I've been thinking about this, and I was wondering if they had shot them first, what the human rights activists would have said, and the rule of law people would have said, why didn't they take them to court, etc., etc. But in the whole scheme of things, there seems to be an increasing brazenness on the part of the armed robbers in this country. And again, another very difficult issue, whether you like it or not, Ghanaians are beginning to believe that this is an imported trait. I will not be the one to be caught on TV saying where it is supposed to have come from. But then there's also the dynamic of what the onlookers did or did not do. But I was listening to, I think it was Joy News last night, when I heard the PRO for Greater Accra, I forget the rank.
Efia Tenge.
Yeah, Efia Tenge. And in her response, she said, oh, well, you know, we've had such things before. I was particularly shocked that, in fact, it was the truth. But what I expected to hear is, what can we do as a nation, as a people, and more specifically as a police service? I mean, believe me, Brad, this is not going to be a one-off. Before the end of this month, next month, we will be discussing an equally brazen attack on unsuspecting citizens. I can only end on the note that the IGP should really, if I may say, bolster his people, bolster the force, because people are getting more and more daring, more and more desperate. And again, if you look at the other side of it, if you are an armed robber and you know that if this goes wrong and you are caught, that you are really going to go in the prison for a very long time, the degree of desperation also increases. So I think as citizens, we should be more vigilant and we should be more cooperative with the police. I think that the community police, if they are supposed to be doing such exercises, should be given better training. I wonder, unless they were planning to enact a Hollywood scene, I wonder how two of them on a motorbike were supposed to apprehend another bunch of people on a motorbike. So all in all, it's sad. It's a very sad thing. And it is scary. And we have only the Ghana Police Service to rely on to actually do something about this situation. Yeah.
Eric, the police and the way they work professionally and the fact that the tools they need to work with, would you say that the police is in a position to deal with some of these attacks?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning to you and to my colleagues here, and then most especially to our viewers out there. To start with, my thoughts are with the family of the shot policemen. And I hope that the good Lord, in His own time, would essentially be their comforter. However, I mean, I think that, like my friend Ricky said, such a brazen attack on innocent policemen should not be allowed to go. I hope that, and I implore that the authorities will do whatever they can to apprehend the culprits. I mean, whilst coming, I heard some reports that the culprits have been apprehended, but I don't know how far it's true or if we can corroborate that. But I mean, I feel that the police itself would have to reorient itself. And I was happy that I think sometime during the week, there was some communication from the IGP that it's his desire to make the police service a world-class one. And I feel that they have to essentially change the mindset a little bit and then also look at ways in which they can actually even optimize the little resources that they have. I have had my own pet peeves with the way policing is done in this country. And when you probably would probe a bit further, they'll start saying that this is how we've been doing it for all this while. Not to divert, I mean, even the way these roadblocks are done, and in areas where they decide that they want to do them, I keep asking myself, really, is it the area where a lot of these crimes or all these nefarious activities actually happen? And then they do it in such a way that it actually brings discomfort to the people that they are supposed to be. I understand. So you have to really look at some of all of these things in the way they operate. For instance, I hear that they don't have the requisite resources in terms of vehicles and logistics and all of those things. But I don't understand why, for a stretch like the Accra-Kumasi Road or to the Volta region or to Cape Coast and everything, they rather decide that even if they have 2-3 vehicles, we'll be stationary here all night and expect that when the person comes and then you shine a torchlight in their face, you would be able to determine if this guy is a criminal or not. We need to find new ways of doing this thing. I also feel that, I mean, as human as we are, sometimes we also tend to underplay the importance of the police service, and that it's important that government and all the various stakeholders also give them the support that they require. But they would have to do an introspection and find out exactly if, for instance, all the problems that they go through are problems that has to do with resources and logistics, but not of a mindset. And that let's all have a proper conversation to do these things. We don't have to always wait for such unfortunate incidents to happen for us to start talking about the police. When it happens like that, you move away from the real issues. And I believe that the IGP, the new IGP, would essentially look at some of these things and find ways of making sure that at least, even though we don't have that much resources, we can be able to maximize what we have and then deploy the personnel in a manner that would be of benefit to all Ghanaians. I mean, I don't want to sway into the controversial subjects of why our police people essentially being deployed in areas where, for instance, they're probably not needed in terms of priority. Now, in areas where we know that there's incidents of crime and nefarious activities, that is where you need the presence. However, it looks like it's actually the other way around. And if that happens, it brings some kind of discomfort to our people. So I will, end by saying that my condolences to the family, and I hope that the police service will also not basically be demotivated, but will be actually urged on and have that capacity to go out there and apprehend the perpetrators and then put measures in place. I mean, if it issues with not having the right equipment, for instance, and all that, then it has to be addressed. And then if people are going out there, they need some kind of support to be able to go out there and do what is required of them.
I'm grateful, Eric. Fred, so the police will need to up their game?
Well, let me say good morning to our viewers, and I doff my heart out to the bereaved family and the police service as a whole. I think that, of course, they need to up their game. I don't see how policemen can be pursuing people who are holding guns and other things when they themselves are moving without any of those things and even protective, bulletproof vests around them. I don't think it is right for them to have done that. And I think this should also be a wake-up call to the police service. Men who are supposed to be patrolling our streets and our roads and protect all of us when we go to bed in the night, they also need to be well protected. You need to be able to get some of these bulletproof vests for them and helmets for them, so they can have the courage to move out there to pursue and then to do whatever they need to do when they come across situations like this. I am more worried about the fact that these armed robberies and even the citizenry, the level of impunity, where people are no longer afraid to even attack security personnel. Now, if people are not afraid to attack the policeman, then what about you and I, who don't have any means of protecting ourselves? And so I think it's a very serious issue that we need to look at. We need to investigate more into it. It should go beyond just this particular case that's happened. A time before just happened recently, the murder of Major Mahama. The citizens have the impunity. They are told it's a soldier man, and yet they didn't care. They went to the extent of doing what they did. I don't want to remind the family members. And this thing has happened over here. Now, when these things continue to happen, it demoralizes other members in uniform. And oftentimes it happens, we talk about this way, it ends there, the fellow is buried. I don't know to what extent the police service has a mechanism to even take care of the family members. This person we are talking about, they should maybe have a wife and children out there, breadwinner to a family. Is it a case that he will just pass on and go on course of duty without any package to take care of the people he's going to leave behind? Do they have any such packages? I've just read in the papers today that the minister will be tabling something in Parliament in connection with Major Mahama, something that an endowment fund that they are setting up for him. Are we going to have same for this policeman who died in the line of duty? And so we need to look at it. We need to motivate them. This whole thing we have been saying time with that number, we don't have money to resource persons who are supposed to provide security to all of us. It doesn't make sense to me. It tells me we are just not concerned about our security. Because if you are concerned about security, which is the number one thing that you need for any development, then you cannot say you don't have money. What does it take to have some of these vests that we are talking about? If perhaps they are wearing some of these bulletproof vests, I'm sure they would have been able to save themselves. How can a policeman be on duty without a gun? How should that happen? without a gun. How can they be on a duty? So they were pursuing the men on a motorbike. They too were using a motorbike. Were they running to go and arrest them with their hands? What were they expected to happen? Now, how my colleague was asking about the civilians were around. What could they have done? People are holding guns. Do you expect them to rush on them? So it is quite a complex issue, and I pray that the police, we trust them, we know they can do the investigation and get to the bottom of it, and arrest the perpetrators so that they go through the needed punishment as a deterrent to anybody who think that it can run over our security services.
All right, Fred, I'm grateful.
Yes.
Ricky, you wanted to come in?
I'm just wondering whether I'll be taking on for, reminiscing fondly about the days of David Walenkaki, who had his Panthers, and when it took an idiot to actually attempt to do armed robbery, because this was a special unit. And I'm sure those of you who have stayed in other places, you probably know they are special striking forces. And unless I be taken to be campaigning for ACP Boache or whatever his rank is, I'm reliably told, or in fact everybody knows that when it is reported that when he was in Kumasi, armed robbery and all those deviant behavior reduced because the gentleman is a man of action. I'm told he has been put on a desk somewhere. This is not a scientific analysis. I just heard from people who are living in Kumasi. I've heard about his attitude towards work. Why are we wasting such people doing administrative jobs? Look, critical issues require a very critical response. We need to have a special force. Look, these community police probably did a 2-3 month training. And for that matter, they cannot necessarily be issued weapons because they are just community police, supposed to be increased visibility and stuff like that. So if all of them cannot go around with bulletproof vests, we should have a striking force, or if you want to rechristen it, since it's the thing in Ghana, give it a new name, but let them be active. The other thing is, what is the communication situation of the police? These people, everybody says that they took off in the direction of Kaswa.
From La Paz all the way to Kaswa.
Yes, the direction of Kaswa, and there were no patrols, and nobody could tell somebody. I can't help but recount this very heartwarming story of which happened in Takwa also. Apparently, a bus full of kids going to school, and then the driver's brakes failed, and it was doomed to go and crash. And somebody with a Kia truck, which was loaded with pure water, decided to go actually went and blocked it. So the school bus came and hit the Kia truck, which every kid came off nicely, except that the mate of the Kia truck, who was also trying to jump off, had some bruises. I'm not saying everybody should put yourself in the line of, but I'm saying that as citizens, we are not saying go with your hands, but there are several ways you could do this. If all the vehicles on that highway decided, okay, let's stop, how are they going to make their exit to Kaswa? We need, while we are calling on the police, we need to devise new ways of dealing with these issues. But as for the Walenkaki matter, I'm hoping that we can revisit.
You bring back the Panthers.
And please, let not the human rights people come and tell me something else. Because this policeman has died.
Let's move on and check this one also on the Daily Guide. Ras Mubarak drags Kesley Hayford to Parliament. The story is said that the NDC member of Parliament for Kumbungu, Ras Mubarak, has called on Parliament to drag a social commentator and member of Occupy Ghana before the Privileges Committee of the House for saying at the function that Ghanaian MPs only make stupid decisions and pass stupid laws. And this was said to have been reported on Ghana Web on Sunday, July 9th. And the story yesterday, Parliament referred the matter to the leadership of the House. Eric, so we're back to this issue of when you say something untoward towards Parliament, then you're dragged to the House. But must we insult them if we disagree with them?
Well, I mean, this is a very, I'd say, sensitive issue. Now, language is extremely dynamic in the way people understand it. And I believe that as a communicator, you'd have to look at the context and the platform that you choose to communicate some of the things that you do. Parliament, as an institution, has every right to call into its Privileges Committee to find out from Mr. Kingsley Hayford why he has said such things about them. And I totally believe that. When you take it out from our jurisdiction and you take it elsewhere as well, and it's a issue that boils down to freedom of speech and all of it. There are other places where these things that Mr. Kingsley Hayford said are said every day, and nobody really seems to find a problem. I mean, probably worse things are said. So it's a very almost sensitive, controversial issue where Mr. Kingsley Hayford can probably even go to court over it and say, okay, am I allowed to use such words in dispensation that is meant to be freedom of speech and all of those things? And I am actually particularly interested to know how this thing actually pans out. But I believe that whatever it is that we communicate and how we actually comport ourselves, especially when given an opportunity on a platform, any platform, should be one that will not cause some kind of or antagonize any group of persons. And I feel that if this thing can be resolved amicably, in the sense that Mr. Kingsley Hayford, having gotten the win that Parliament is thinking of doing that, and I'm happy with such comments, can do the needful and say, okay, I apologize, maybe that's not exactly what I meant. Then we can probably put it to bed. But I would be interested to know how we're able to actually get to the bottom of what to say concerning Parliament, or what to say that would actually be in a democratic. So we're talking about democracy, right? So we're not talking about morals or culture or traditions. What you are allowed to say. You understand? Because we've even had issues where we had the famous Muntie 3 going on radio to say all sorts of things. And some legal experts came out to say that they were actually expressing a view, and they're allowed to. And that you are even allowed to go beyond that and criticize the judiciary. I mean, people came up with such arguments. And as a growing democracy, sometimes some of these things actually presents us opportunities to couch and be able to do things that in the future would be more beneficial to our democratic dispensation. But I feel that on the morals side, and just to allow some kind of decorum to exist between the Parliament and civil society organizations and individuals like Kingsley Hayford, he can do what I think that is apologize and do the honorable thing, so that it doesn't degenerate into something that would actually bring, and that is what I'm scared of, that the longer it degenerates, it actually gives an opportunity for either him or other people who think exactly the same to actually bring the name of Parliament into disrepute.
Ricky, yes. Take a look at this. Now, how careful should one be when talking about Parliament? And also the fact that the concern on social media is that the House seemed to be selective in dealing with some of these comments.
Yes, you've taken the wind out of my sails. Not as if I know how to do anything in water. But one, yes, the Parliament is a central institution, is one of the three arms of government, and every effort should be made to keep it in very serious respect. There's no two ways about that. My friend starts on a note I thought would take a different direction, and language is language, period. If I heard you right, he said they take stupid decisions and stupid policies. It is not an... in my understanding of language, and I dare say it's quite considerable, it has nothing to do with their persons. It's the result of their work. So this matter can take a long story down the road, and I'm sure people will bring in dictionaries too. But the matter that concerns me, and I'm not going to tiptoe around these matters, what is happening to Kennedy Agyapong? He does worse than this. And he's a member of Parliament. I'm not even going to say
it's not to defend himself.
No, please, hold on. Unless we want to be too nice about this matter. And I'm saying this because if it was my friend here, you'd have said it is party
I'm only
politics.
worried because he's not here to defend himself. That's why I'm saying that.
He normally doesn't give anybody the chance to be there to defend himself. I'm being straightforward. There are times that he has very, very legitimate concerns. Very legitimate concerns. And he's a man of passion. I respect that. But I'm saying that is one of their own. So sometimes you lose a moral rectitude to somebody to account to you for something that is so in the gray areas of propriety or impropriety. So yes, and I'm not too enthused about this apology thing. If the man feels that what he said, and I know Kingsley Hayford considerably, I've met him at a number of occasions, is a man of opinion too, respected, and his respect arises out of the fact that he is normally on record to say things that many people don't have the testicular fortitude to do. So if he's being summoned, let us make sure that these are not just quote-unquote defenseless citizens that are being pulled in and shown that power lies in Parliament. So I recall the case of Ras Mubarak and how a little show facade was took place. Look, if I said anything against the Parliament of this country, which was untoward, I would want to be given the opportunity to go and at least defend myself. But if they want to enjoy that right, then they should clean their own house. I mean, it is hypocritical. Once upon a time, Alban Bagbin said that there was corruption in Parliament. We didn't hear anything. Then there were
Martin Amido has said it.
Yes, nothing happened. Then one young man says it, and then the whole country is taking on a long rigmarole of parliamentary procedure.
You do not think what he said is...
I say it's debatable. I say it's debatable.
Of saying that if he has the opportunity, he will break down Parliament.
No, you didn't read that bit. And that is almost a treasonable comment, if you ask me. Break down Parliament as an institution, you don't say things like that. All I'm saying is that, first of all, this is reported, he's reported to have said this, so at the end of the day, he's going to come and say, oh, they misquoted me, took me out of context, etc. So like he said, let us not bog down ourselves with these issues. The issue is that my personal principle is if you have an issue against me and you tell me that, oh, I'm this, I'm that, usually I try to prove you wrong in action rather than in arguing with you. So if I were the Parliament, listen, just give him a note, a warning. I said, Prof. Okwe is a disciplinarian, we all know that. Look, Mr. Kingsley Hayford, we are not going to spend Ghana's time discussing or pulling you to this court, but we think it was an unfortunate comment. That's all. Sometimes when you rise up about this, but rather than give the person some 15 minutes of fame or infamy, no.
Fred.
Well, I think that
we're back. This issue, it keeps coming, and I'm sure it won't stop. But what do you think?
Well, I think that largely I associate myself with is it Eric? Ricky's both of them. I think that all of us.
The House is being selective.
Is it selective? We are in a democracy. Ghanaians have the right to express their views on how they see things. Sure. I have always said that it's as if Parliament always wants to protect itself. The judiciary wants to protect itself. Who protects the executive? What don't we say about presidents in this country? What don't we say about ministers in this country? Government appointees in this country? Are they able to hold anybody before themselves and say, we are also taking measures to protect ourselves? I am not saying that we should disrespect state institutions. I am not saying that because we have freedom of speech, we insult people who are serving all of us. But I think that people should also be given the right to express themselves. He is not saying members of Parliament are stupid. He is calling on, maybe he is questioning some of the laws. And I think that you and I have had a course in the past to question some of these things. We had a situation in Parliament where a law is passed. Days after, some members of Parliament come to tell us that we didn't even see the bill when it came to Parliament, and that they rushed it through the last minute. So if you didn't see the bill, you didn't read through the bill, why do you have to participate in the process? Did you come out to say, no, I didn't see the bill, I didn't read through the bill, and so therefore I'm not going to participate in the process of passing that particular bill? You sat in, you kept quiet. And so essentially you have a right to say that if that particular bill, you disagree with that particular bill, you should be able to criticize Parliament. Like you rightly said, we have heard several honorable members of our Parliament. The things they say out there, the thing they say to other citizens of this country. I may not be a fan of Kingsley Hayford. I may not like most of the things sometimes he says, just as you also not like some of the things I say. But on this particular score, I don't think anybody should be threatened.
You're suggesting that Parliament brought this on itself. Is that what you're suggesting?
Largely, yes. Because they are not whipping their own in line. They are not calling their own in order. They say to other people, they do it to other people. They sit on radio, they sit on television, they say whatever they want to say. And so if they want us to protect and respect that institution, they must set the first example. I am not suggesting that everybody in Parliament is like that. Very decent. When they come out there, you can tell this is a member of Parliament. He's conscious about what he says and how he goes about his things. But there are others who don't care. They behave like just everybody else. So how then do you assist me to protect such a person when they give me equal response or equal measure? And so for me, I'm an advocate of all of us respecting state institutions, protecting state institutions, doing whatever it takes to help them. There are human beings who are working over there. They can't always get it right. We can criticize them without insulting them or resorting to name calling. And I agree in principle to that. But on this particular occasion, holding before Privileges Committee and all that, then of course, every blessed day Parliament don't have anything to do. Because people will continue to criticize them anyway. People will continue to say things that you can say unparliamentary anyway across the country. And so then they should be monitoring all the airwaves and all that kind of people are having and be holding everybody before them. They can't have the time to do any other thing. And so I want to plead with the Speaker of Parliament and leadership of Parliament, like Ricky rightly said, maybe they can just give a general warning, advice maybe, that yes, you can criticize our work, you can disagree with us, just we do to the courts, we do to the judges, we do to the executive arm of government, but we should do that with a lot of decorum and circumspection. It should not just be that because I have a right to criticize, so I should say just anything. That should be the way to go, but to hold him and start holding others, to come to a point when something comes, all of us will be so scared to say it. And I don't think that is what they want to put out there.
I see. Right. Before I go to Eric, Ricky, I saw you trying to...
Yes. The other day when the House of Chiefs, I think National House of Chiefs met with, I think it was the President, and Togwe Afede.
Yes.
Togwe Afede said something that was so beautiful. And I'm so amused by the silence. Because all he said was that several efforts had been made by the House of Chiefs to get a certain bill passed. And he said, I cannot quote, but I paraphrase, that it looks like because they were not able to do what some people do to get their bill passed, that is why their bill was not passed. You can go back and replay it. And I'm not saying that they should hold Togwe Afede. Please don't misquote me. All I'm saying is that this is the President of the House of Chiefs, and what I heard was an indictment on Parliament. I'm saying that in order that Parliament does not suffer such indictments, legitimate, warranted or not, they should up their game. Rather than, using a sledgehammer to kill a fly.
Eric, you suggested that Mr. Hayford can go there and say that I'm sorry, I didn't mean what I said. But then wouldn't that give people the kind of leeway that, oh, well, I can say it and go and say sorry and then I'll get up?
So that is why I'm saying that we have to tread cautiously when issues like this happen. When the sensibilities of members of Parliament have been actually bruised or something, you would have to be careful how you proceed. And I feel that, well, I mean, in even other spheres of life, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with retracting and apologizing. However, he can also decide to go the other way around, basically by daring Parliament to say, okay, what I said is not meant to be derogatory or insulting. And basically, let us go through the full hog of exactly what Parliament necessarily has the right to do. And I feel that the longer we actually discuss these issues and the fact that he's being hauled before Parliament or he's going to be hauled before Parliament, will just bring prominence to this particular issue. And it's not necessarily flattering to Parliament itself by virtue of the words that come from Mr. Hayford. But I feel that, I mean, sometimes if we want to do, and I say this unreservedly, if we want to do this democracy thing,
let's do it.
All right. Okay.
He would probably go down and say, okay, I have said this, I stand by it, and Parliament would be essentially forced to also go and basically try to activate the rights that he has. And then that would be interesting. But I feel that, I mean, to forestall any sort of animosity or acrimony or whatever, Mr. Kesley Hayford
can just go ahead
can go ahead and apologize.
All right.
So that you're not exposed to some kind of theater.
I'm grateful.
But you know, the sad thing is that as of now, in fact, we've not heard the tape. We don't know if he said exactly what is being reported.
Rasmussen yesterday read it in Parliament. I don't know if I can go ahead and read exactly what he said, but what he
it's
read.
We are not holding brief for Mr. Kesley. All of us are in
I'm even surprised that Mubarak is not concerning himself with the myriad problems with Kumbungu. He's worried about.
Oh no, it's not about him. It's not about the person of Ras
Mubarak. No, I just said what I wanted to say.
No, but Ras Mubarak is only representing the institution of Parliament. I don't think that he was doing that in his personal capacity. He as a person, he may not be too concerned about that. I think that the image of the institution might be protected. That is why maybe through this particular action. To that extent, I agree with him. But the point I'm making is that all of us are in public domain. The basic thing sometimes happens to all of us. Sometimes you get so wet up about an issue, and before you realize you have, certain that you normally would not want to say. So I agree when you say that, okay, you can appear for the committee, where you have to say, I'm sorry, you don't mean to say exactly that. You should be able to say it. But it should also not come across as though Parliament is trying to gag citizens from expressing their views and opinions on how they see the way they conduct activities in the House of Parliament. Parliament is for all of us. We know without Parliament, our democracy is a joke. And so we have a right to protect it. But we also have a right to criticize. We have a right to call them to order. That yes, peg yourselves, your own. Some of your own too are going just overboard. And we need to look at that.
The Times says this morning that an amount of $10 million has been set aside as seed money to kickstart the government's National Entrepreneurship and Innovations Plan. That's NEIP. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who announced this when he launched the NEIP in Accra, said the overall purpose of the plan was to stimulate private sector growth and accelerate job creation. He noted that the plan would, among other things, overcome or encourage the youth to venture into entrepreneurship and support businesses to grow. Now, the NEIP is expected to realize 100 million cedis for the first year, provide financial support for 200 scalable businesses per annum. Now, the program is expected to establish sustainable businesses, create sustainable jobs, generate income and revenue for businesses, and empower the country's entrepreneurial belt. We're told that these businesses would also be provided with the market to sell what they produce. Good news for the youth who are thinking about starting their own businesses. Eric, let me start with you. You sit at the Export Promotion Authority. You're the Deputy Chief Executive. Now, a 100 million fund for business startups, is it indeed what will prop up our young men into go into private businesses?
Yes, I mean, I think that the focus is on young entrepreneurs. And being an entrepreneur myself and having first-hand knowledge of the sort of travels that you go through, that for me it's a shot in the arm that would essentially enable some young entrepreneurs to be able to move from where they are today into actually mainstream businesses. I am also particularly encouraged by the fact that it's not just about giving money to young entrepreneurs, but developing a framework and some support systems to help them with marketing. I mean, like you just read, some packaging support, some support with looking at technology and all of those things. And then setting up repositories for information and data and all of those things so that they can actually tap into it. That would now provide what I call some kind of service support or even a safety net for the young entrepreneurs to tap into to be able to build their businesses. We have an economy that essentially has a deficit when it comes to employment.
Right.
And I mean, I don't think that our formal sectors, both private and government, has the capacity to employ everyone to come and sit behind a desk. And I think that with all the other things that's happening, the Planting for Food and Jobs, this particular initiative, what the National Youth Employment are doing, what the National Service itself wants to do in terms of becoming almost entrepreneurial, so that by the time people actually leave the service, they've had some skills to be able to go into the job market. And I feel that it's a step in the right direction. The support that would also come with it, just apart from the money itself, is also key. I mean, from my experience with the Export Promotion Authority and the sort of opportunities that I've gotten in terms of meeting people and the networks that I have been able to get, you realize that our major problem has nothing to do with market. Major problem is to do with the fact that our production capacity is extremely low. We do not produce. We have the market? We have the market. The market's everywhere. I had an opportunity to be in Moscow the last couple of weeks, and I visited a poultry production plant, and I asked the same question that we all ask, and it's like, we have a need to develop our poultry industry in Ghana, but we seem to be having challenges with the feed, poultry feed. And I was surprised that they actually said to me that they also have a problem with poultry feed, and that they import everything from South America. And guess what? Even though they import everything from South America to feed their poultry industry, they produce enough poultry to export. And the main component that they use in the feed is actually soybean, which we can grow in abundance in this country. So even the local market exists, the international markets also exist. So there has to be a proper, pragmatic way to make sure that we focus on producing the right quality, producing the right varieties, and then so having a certain orientation in terms of what you want to do with branding, packaging, and all of those.
That's not where our challenge is, producing the right quality. Now, because of that, we are unable to break through the international market.
Yes,
because we can't produce the right quality, because we don't have what it takes to do that.
I won't sort of go into blaming specific agencies. What has happened is that in the past, agencies that are supposed to be collaborating and working together have been working in silos. So this thing is developed, there's standards here that are supposed to be replicated across board, and nobody talks to each other. So there are certain things that for us as an authority, for instance, are doing to make sure that we create a single platform for all the various players. So you're talking about maybe something like PPRSD, CSIR, Standards Authority, Food and Drug Agency, so that in areas where it has to do with quality and standards, we collaborate and make sure that whatever it is that the standards are in terms of a global standard, we're able to meet it. And then also,
I'll come back to you.
Just wrap up on this one. We need to get to the point where the local standards are also of a global standard. It makes it easier to move it from here to breakthrough. But when the standards are locally relaxed, then it becomes a problem.
Ricky, now listen to the president. Now, I'm confident that this plan will be made to work to provide young people with what it promises. Now, young people who take the risk of entrepreneurship will find that they have support through the difficult stages. The president said, I am passionate about the plan working. Some have raised a concern that take this out of governmental control, drop it into the hands of the private sector. It will enhance the implementation of the project better. What do you think?
Economics and all these related issues are not my forte, but I buy into that idea. I say that because generally the Ghanaian attitude towards such initiatives is free money. We've had several examples. Maslock is an example that readily comes to mind. No offense to the setup in Maslock. So the first thing that came to my mind was they should consider matching funds. So rather than an elaborate system where people blah blah do this, bring proposal, a panel of people who will sit in Senchi and collect huge per diems and honoraria, and then eventually come out with a list of people who get fully funded, maybe they should consider, and that's my simple opinion, that okay, if your proposal needs 10,000 Ghana cedis, bring us 5,000. We'll give you 5,000, but even then you will have to come with collaterals, etc., etc. This is just because for me, all the efforts that I know of in this country, once it comes from government, people think that it is free. This is further exacerbated by the fact that there tends not to be a very clear criterion for the allocation of such funds. So people have the perception that those funds go to party members. Now, like I said, this has been going on since the 1992 experiment to this very point. So I'm not targeting any particular regime. So that's the reason why I'm persuaded that putting it in private hands may be a better option. But of course, there are so many other things to work with. I also heard the president say that it will prevent the youth from relying on salaried jobs. Sincerely speaking, I felt a bit slighted, as though there was something demeaning about doing a salaried job.
No, but you're taking every no.
I thought we were in a democracy.
No, you are, but I mean, it's a bit disingenuous.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair.
But no, come on, that is extremely low.
Ricky, is the president not saying that salaried jobs are not adequate?
Exactly. I mean, come on.
I was hoping that you will credit me with some understanding of it. And Eric, I take serious exception to saying it's
but I haven't been
disrespectful to my person.
No, I haven't been disruptive at all. I'm saying
no. I'm not saying you've been disruptive. Eric, I'm saying that you've been disrespectful to my person.
Ricky, I was asking.
The point I'm making is that I felt slighted. That's all. And please, like you said, let me quote you. Either we are doing this democracy thing or we are not. And I think it's something that I read into the statement. And sometimes when you want to put something on a positive pedestal, you may just need to denigrate the other one a bit. And why not? Salaried jobs generally are not as rewarding as when people go out on their own and make it. So please let us not be obsequious on this occasion.
Don't you think the president was just drawing attention to the fact that salaried jobs are not adequate and can't resolve the unemployment problem?
That is a given.
Okay.
The point I'm just saying here is that, like we said before we came on set, there are so many such efforts, and we tend to be duplicating some of these efforts. But this NIEP, again, one would only hope that it actually achieves its desired goals. But I am hoping, one, that there is some transparency in the qualifying process, that there is, some degree of requirements that are made so that people do not just assume that when they take these monies, they can go off and not account for them, because that tends to be the problem. So it is not only a government issue, it's also the Ghanaians' attitude towards such initiatives coming from government. And that's all I just thought that we should be wary of.
Fred, let me pick your brains on it. So the youth are at the forefront of it. Eric has just told us that the market is there. Perhaps how to get to the market is what we need. So this is indeed the startup that will turn things around for us.
Any intervention, any move that is meant to help the youth come up in this country, I'm all out for it. But I am beginning to get worried about the number of such groups that we are creating, or instead that we are creating in this country, that if you go and do an analysis of it, you don't see the result that really we are producing. Yes, it was introduced under our government. It's supposed to be doing almost the same thing, targeting the youth between the ages of 18 and 35. Dedicated funds set aside for them. Bring your business proposal, a committee sit down to vet the business. They give you the needed training that you deserve. They give you the capital, and then you move in and start doing the work. Now you get back to yes and talk to them. At a point, they didn't have the money to support the many applications that came on their table. The structure is still there, the office are still there, the personnel are there working. One would have thought that if you have gotten some money now, inject it back in the same institution. If you want to open up the scope, and let them continue with their work. We are now going to create a different agency altogether to do just the same.
Nobody has created any.
Now,
nobody has created any.
Eric,
no,
I'll bring
Eric,
you in. I'll bring you in.
Don't
Fred,
worry,
please
you can
go.
correct. You can fill in.
I'll bring
You can fill in when I finish. We have National Youth Authority. I remember, I think from the PNS days through to the FS NDC days, we had all these training institutions across the country. That one that comes to mind immediately, this one around Afienya, where we are supposed to groom the youth, train them, leadership training institutes. Several of them across the country. I don't know the last time you visited any of those institutions. They are dead on their knees. Nothing's happening there. We are not resourcing them. And so they can't run, they can't perform the reasons for which they were set up. How are we reviving these institutions? How are we injecting more capital into this institution? He mentioned Maslock. Maslock was set up almost to do the same thing to people who want to go into entrepreneurship. Our mothers who are selling the market, our sisters, our young brothers, and what have you. To what extent are they able to do that so to solve the problem that we have in our country? I am saying that if we can pay particular attention to agriculture in this country, the issue of unemployment and all the rest will be solved. To solve agriculture problem is not to give money to people to say, go and start farming. It's a whole process that we need to target. A lot of people are interested in going to farming. You produce, and one, you don't just get the market. We don't have storage facilities. We are still depending on rain-fed agriculture. We don't have serious irrigation system like has been done in other parts of the world. These are the things that we need to first pay attention to. Get places, storage facilities across the country. Set up some marketing agencies who will go around and say we are mobbing out the excesses from the system. So if I'm a person who says, okay, I'm going to farming, one, I am guaranteed a price that if I produce maize, just like we do for cocoa, you know, we should even go back to the scale system. If I produce my maize, nobody comes to Accra and come and determine how much I want to buy it from me. And because I don't have any system to store my produce, I am compelled to sell to the person at that ridiculous price. The next year, I'm not motivated to want to go into that same farming. But if you have storage facilities, we have marketing agencies that go like we used to have in the days of Nkrumah, where we have all these marketing agents that move around and they buy from the farmers. One, you are guaranteed a market, you have a guaranteed price. You know that government is playing a major, irrigation is there. You have rain, you can produce all year round. We can set up all the factories we are thinking about in this country. If you cannot get the raw material to feed the factory, they will collapse. The tomatoes factory in the northern region comes in hand, it is there. Upper East. Go there today and see. The factory is sitting there. The tomato is not available. And so they can't do anything. We have finished the sugar factory at Komenda. The raw material is not available. And so the factory is sitting down there. The point I'm making is that let us take time, look through these things very well, put the necessary measures in place before we start the implementation. It is good we have got some money, starting with $10 million seed money, targeting 100 million. It's all good. But can we put in one single institution? Can we put all the energy together? You know, get the youth along. Somebody has mentioned the partisan aspect that count these things. It doesn't help some of these institutions to grow. We have done that in the past, where the thing eventually is limited to persons related to some or affiliated to some political parties. It doesn't help anybody. Let us make it so that everybody else will embrace it, everybody else will get on board. That is the only way, one, we can solve the unemployment problem in this country. That's the only way we can create to feed ourselves in this country. Just to land on a point Eric raised earlier about even feed for our poultry industry. I am aware of a factory, for instance, around Techima. I think Ghana Nut, that's the name, Ghana Nut. They produce poultry feed.
It's a Brahma region.
Brahma for Techima.
Ghana Nut, yeah.
Now, they operate under a free zones system. Yeah. Now, the free zones law is saying that if you produce, 70% must exit the country, you keep 30%. So they produce poultry feed, then they sell it to Côte d'Ivoire, to Burkina Faso. Ghanaian farmers now have to go to Côte d'Ivoire to go and buy the things that we produce in our country, pay the duties, and bring it back to come and feed the industry. So it increases their cost of what? Production. These are all the things that we can look at. To the extent that to benefit us locally, can we amend the laws so that those that we are producing here, even though they operate under free zones, we still can sell more to the local market. So we need to have a comprehensive approach to this whole subject.
All right. Let me get Johnny to come in with some messages. Johnny, good morning once again.
Right, thanks. And it says, I wish the entire Kotoko team a speedy recovery. I don't know if they're ill or sick, but Chakapama said that. I'm sure he wanted to say deepest condolence to them. Alhaji Mashud Tamale says, good morning. Are we safe as Ghanaians? The insecurity in this country is becoming worrisome. Government must provide logistics to the police service. Good morning, TV3. Apologize for what? We are in a democratic world. If someone says his mind or speaks his mind concerning parliamentarians, then they want the whole world to come to an end. In actual fact, what is the meaning of the word stupid? We are in this country when they called flag bearers, thieves, corrupt, looters, etc. What about the parliamentarians themselves, insulting each other here and there? Please, they should give us a break, if not a lunch. Vincent Chico sent that one. And, well, it says, I think government and the military services must enforce law of karma. That's law of order, respect and responsibility. As the Ugandans have done, doing nobody, well, I can make head or tail of it, but if it misuse or threaten the military personnel in Uganda, what a nation. Please let the law of our dear Ghana work. Now civilians are killing military personnel. What about me and you? Please, government enforce the law of the country as a commander of the military service and the nation, because citizens' lives are in dangerous zones, or even are in danger, from Obing Bright and Mamponting in Kwabre Eastern. Good morning, TV3. Ghana is losing it gradually, and if care is not taken, politics is drawing this dear country of ours back. When MPP came to power, IGP Mr. Pietu reshuffled COP Kofi Boakye from Kumasi to Accra to be in that office. While you and I know for a fact that when he was in Kumasi, as turbulent as Kumasi was, he was able to calm things down. So see how politics is endangering our Ghana. God help us. Carly Gates Scribbles. And good morning. What is our parliament talking about, taking Ghanaians for? Are they above criticism? I can't think far that the same parliament that passes laws endorsing freedom of speech turned to drag people to them after they exercise their rights. In any case, when Professor Dai called them corrupt, was he invited? When Martin Amidu called them corrupt, was he invited? When Mr. Bagbin, one of them, said there was corruption in parliament, was he dragged to the privileges committee? Kennedy Japan, one of them, who is always on air inciting people, insulting people, etc., which parliamentary, I'm sure committee has been invited to. In that case, that our parliament is autocratic institution. Ghanaians are watching them for us in Bandai. And Idrisu Ebi Efuseni Nashengu says the armed robber killing a police officer on duty is clear indication that the security for the last 6 to 7 months under the current administration has been broken down. So we, the civilians of this country, have no options than to go into self-protection. Good morning, TV3. If parliamentarians disagree with Kesley Hayford, we Ghanaians are far disappointed in them parliament, and not to serve party interests, but to serve national interests. It's just heartbreaking to see things, to see the citizens roam from Kumasi. And finally, cop killed at La Paz. Killing of policeman is not something new, and we are not afraid, but we are not properly rewarded. Yes, I was giving 500 Ghana cedis as donation when I lost my leg. What kind of society we live in? Other people are giving VIP treatment, even no promotion to cool my heart. Discuss these on my behalf. Sami in Accra, I'm sure he's a service personnel. And good morning. I really love the song, Pa. You guys have made my day special, Janet. And right, here's a policeman who says, perhaps he was short, not a promotion, was just giving 500 Ghana cedis. The woes and lost his leg. The woes of a man in uniform. Anyway.
Let's see what happens. Johnny, we're grateful once again.
Thank you.
All right, let's wrap up on the show. Eric, just 30 seconds, wrap up for me. You disagree with Fred when he talked about the duplication of some of these things. 30 seconds.
No, I think that, I mean, we can always try and have a conversation around that. And if there's a need to consolidate and bring together resources to implement, why not? I mean, I feel that, I mean, when these things are coming from my friends from the NDC who just left power and all of a sudden become repositories for good governance and all of those things, I laugh because they just left power just about 6 months ago. And I mean, I'm sure they would have, or the average Ghanaian on the streets would be thinking, wow, why didn't Fred and his people implement all these beautiful ideas?
Eric, I'm grateful.
I mean, it's easier said than done.
Okay, Fred, 30 seconds.
I am sad, Eric, to conclude this. What are we talking about? The fact that my party is out of government does not mean I'm no more a Ghanaian, therefore I can
I didn't say that.
To the discourse. These are my views. Why no government can finish everything within the term of office. And that's why I've come in. And we have a right to also contribute to the governance. We are not saying that we are doing anything wrong. We are all just helping the SM to grow. That we have too many of such institutions. Let's harmonize the effort. Let's bring them together. Look at the amount of money we spent on administrative issues alone. If they are going to create a new office for this particular fund has been established, You are going to get an office space. You are going to get personnel. You are going to get the vehicles and all the other things. Oh, yeah. Okay. That to the extent that all the institutions are already in existence, let's bring them together and let's say it goes.
Okay, Ricky, 30 seconds.
Well, sincerely, so I'm happy that they've done my work for me. Both people are not, both groups are not very serious. Why? Kufuor had community police.
Hold on. Allow him to go.
I'm the only.
I'm on the show here. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm saying
but you can't allow him to proceed.
There was Kufuor community police. NDC came and sacked them. Then NDC came and had, well, you demobilized them. Please, we all know these things.
It's not true. It's not true.
So how come they were replaced under Atta Mills? And after Atta Mills government and
Ricky cannot say what they are saying is not true.
The fact of the matter is Ghanaians are tired of your sing-songs. They are hearing what I'm saying because that's the truth. You keep replacing, you all duplicate and replicate each other's efforts. So don't stand here and try to gain favor in the eyes of Ghanaians. We are disappointed in the two main parties in this country. And I think that we should start thinking about Ghanaians. As for this type of, he did this, is not working. Every time there's a new idea, and believe me, 8, 4, 10 years down the road, if MPP is in opposition, they would also become so sanctimonious and so knowledgeable.
It's not all right. Yes, 4 years.
I'm grateful.
It's not for me to say.
Ricky Pepra is a founder of the Youth Enterprise Development Foundation Network, and Eric Chum Ampofo. Eric Amwaku Chum is the Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, a member of the NPP, and Fred Agbenyo is a member of the NDC too. Gentlemen, grateful for Friday morning. Deputy Communications NDC. Have a great time this Friday morning. Those of you who stayed out there to be part of it, we're grateful for your contributions and comments. Stay with us.